In 1984, the Reverend Jesse Jackson made his first run for president, a seemingly unlikely bid by a black American 12 years after Shirley Chisholm mounted her bid for the Democratic nomination. Surprising everyone, he won 4 primaries and brought 358 delegates to the Democratic National Convention that year in San Francisco. Jackson tried again in 1988, this time winning 13 states and 1,023 delegates, nearly enough to take the nomination from Michael Dukakis. The people working behind the scenes to get Reverend Jackson the nomination included 5 young black women: Mignon Moore, Donna Brazile, Leah Daughtry, Tina Flournoy, and Yolanda Caraway. They called themselves the Colored Girls. 40 years later, at the Democratic National Convention in Jackson's hometown of Chicago, we've come full circle, with Reverend Jackson receiving his flowers surrounded by fellow civil rights leaders, and the Colored Girls, now veteran Democratic strategists, still behind the scenes, but now running the show. Yolanda Caraway is principal at the Caraway Group consulting firm. Tina Flournoy was chief of staff to VP Kamala Harris from 2021 to 2022. Bishop Leah Daughtry is presiding prelate of the House of the Lord Churches and co-founder of Black Church PAC. Donna Brazile is the former chair of the DNC and ran Al Gore's campaign. And Mignon Moore is the chair of this year's Democratic National Convention. I got to talk to all 5 of the Colored Girls during the DNC in Chicago about their own journeys, as well as the journey of the Democratic Party from Jesse Jackson in 1984 to Kamala Harris 4 decades later. The Colored Girls are assembled before me. It is such an honor to be able to talk to you ladies. You are such icons inside of not just the Democratic Party, but in American politics and in American civic life. So thank you for being here. I want to start by referring you all to a moment, bringing you back to a moment that happened Monday, night 1 of the convention, when Reverend Jesse Jackson was brought out into the crowd. He received his ovations from the crowd, and then he was brought up on stage with some of the activists he trained, including Reverend Sharpton. And he was able to receive it was a good 2 minutes of just applause. And I just want to ask what that meant to you all as people who came up under him in the movement. And I am going to start with you, Yolanda. How did that feel?
You're going to make me start crying again. Because that's what I did Monday night.
You're allowed to cry.
It was so, I don't even know how to describe it. It was an amazing feeling. I was so proud to have worked for him. I learned almost everything I knew from him.
Not only did he do so much as an activist, he did so much as a party insider. Once he got inside and opened the door, he made sure the door stayed open for everybody else. The number of black people who became members of the DNC because of something that he negotiated has led to all of us being involved in the DNC, so many other people, electeds around the country. He opened the door to the party institution for so many, not just black people, people of color, people who had been not at the table are there because of Reverend Jackson.
Bishop Leah?
My very first presidential campaign was 1984 for Reverend Jesse Jackson. I was a student in New Hampshire, and he asked me to help run that part of New Hampshire for his campaign. The first convention, we were like, huh? We do what? What's a credential? And so he swung this door open so wide to bring us into a process we hadn't experienced before. And then he stayed inside and taught us how to be insiders, changing the party's rules. And so when he came out that night, I cried. It was just accolades overdue, and it's really not enough that this party could ever do to thank him.
Donna?
I had tears of joy and celebration, but also a lifelong commitment to change. What he instilled in us, we have to continue to instill in others. What he provided us, we have to give to others. Everything about Reverend Jackson was truly about making sure all of his people, the rainbow, all of us, including women, he recognized women's leadership before some women recognized themselves as leaders.
We knew that in many ways, many of us, not just us, but many of us, including President Obama, including Hillary Clinton, including our now fabulous nominee, They all stood on the shoulders that he had paid. When they brought him out onto that stage, I don't think there was a dry eye in there. What he instilled in us, in all of us, and I think it's a thread through who we are as colored girls. People think it's about color. For us, it's always been about our value system, and a lot of that he brought to us because he made us believe that the titles didn't matter. But what did matter is how you can open the doors and swing them wide open and make sure that everybody has a seat at the table. And the thing that I think I take away from his movement, his leadership, is don't go into the room seeing who's in the room. Go into the room seeing who's not in the room. That's why they call me a y'all come.
And fast forward 40 years, now we are at a convention at which the nominee is a black woman. And I don't think that a lot of people know how many black women are empowered in the Democratic Party behind the scenes. And so as much as you are willing to talk about it, I would love for you all to give us some insights into what the making of the nomination of Vice President Harris to be the nominee, because it didn't just happen by accident.
Well, it starts with Joe Biden.
Yeah, that was just
It starts with Joe Biden. And this is another emotional. Joe Biden talked to us before he made his selection.
That's right.
We actually talked to Joe Biden about what we thought she would add to the ticket and the values she represented.
What we do is learn the rules, make sure they follow the rules, because you know many times the rules change when you get different things in the process. But the one thing we have always prided ourselves in is making sure we get in there and understand how to move these chess pieces. We try to make sure we understand the rules that we're playing by, and that's what the vice president had the benefit of. We understood the rules, and they couldn't change them
during
on
that
us.
period, the period when the president was really deciding what path he would take. We knew a couple of things, and Donna was very vocal about this, that if he decided that he was not going forward, no one was going to go around the vice president or through the vice president.
That's right.
Period.
Period.